Welcome to my kitchen, and if you clicked on this video today, it's a step-by-step on how to make a biryani, a very flavorful, delicious South Asian dish. Over 1 billion South Asians, so there are 1,000,001 different variations of biryani because you get your mother's biryani recipe and your mother-in-law's, and you don't want to pick one, so you make your own that's a variation of the two. This is going to be a simple way of making a delicious, flavorful dish, step-by-step, 3 incremental steps for the garnish, the chicken, and the rice. Come join me, and I'm going to have screenshots of the ingredients so that you can follow me step by step. To make this dish flavorful and exciting, it does not have to take the whole day. However, there are 3 key parts to this dish. 1 is a garnish, 2, it's the chicken and marinating the chicken in those delicious spices, and 3 is the rice and then pulling it all together. So let's get started on the marinating of the chicken. For each part of this recipe, I'll list the ingredients just above here so you can take a screenshot and follow along with me by putting all the ingredients into the marinade together. I've made this recipe 100 times at least. The one key item that I think makes a big difference is a heavy bottom pot that has a heavy lid to keep the steam in so that the entire dish retains all of its moisture. So if you can get one of these pots or you have one of these pots, I think it really is the best to use. It's easier if you pre-measure all of your spices and then we start marinating the chicken. There are a handful of spices that go into the marinade, so much easier to pull them all out, measure them. And of course, your yogurt is key in tenderizing your chicken. So let's start putting all these ingredients together. Start off by putting a little bit of yogurt, not the entire amount. Then we're going to go black pepper, cumin, coriander, chili powder, paprika and chili flakes, turmeric, last but not least, cinnamon. And I love putting some fresh grated ginger into this marinade. It gives so much flavor. It's completely different from using powdered ginger. The fresh ginger really pops the flavor. Now I'm going to put in the balance of the yogurt that I took out. And you could put in all of the yogurt at once. I just find it's easier to mix when I have 2 layers of yogurt with the spices in between. I like to wear gloves simply because the turmeric and the paprika tends to stain your hands. It's time to get down and dirty and marinate all this chicken. Squish it all around. Try and make sure that every piece of chicken is smothered with this beautiful marinade. Pull from the bottom upwards. And that's part of why I use a glass bowl, so that I can see that all the chicken is really well coated and marinated. And we're going to let this sit for 15 to 20 minutes while we get ready with all of the garnish. The chicken is really well coated. You can see that on both sides. I've got the marinated permeating into the meat. This will be ready in about 20 minutes. If you don't like onions, this is not the dish for you. Biryani is packed full of flavor. Onions is one of those components that lends a ton of the flavor for it. I prefer using a mandolin simply because the thinner you cut the onion, the crispier it becomes. You can certainly do this with a knife, but I'll show you just how thin I want to get these onions so they crisp up quickly and they stay crispy in the dish. Come on in closer. They're really quite thin, and the thinner you can get them, the better it is. And consistency is key too. You can see how thin they are. So if you are a little bit shy about cutting onions because it makes you cry, I just put them in the fridge just before I'm ready to cut them, and it seems to reduce the amount of tears that start draining down my face. We're going to add all of our oil in first, about 1/4 of an inch, right into the pot. While I'm waiting for this to heat up, I've got it on medium to high heat. I have to say, the one thing I do love about this dish is that I try and cook most of the components right in one pot. I'm going to start putting a few at a time. You don't want to overcrowd them because then it drops the temperature of the oil and they don't really fry well. They absorb a lot of the oil. So just a handful at a time. It'll take 3 or 4 goes to get these all done. You start to see them browning up, but they're not quite done. They will continue to cook when you put them on the paper towel, but they need to be a little bit darker than this. Okay, they're really brown now. It's time to come out of the oil. By putting them on a paper towel, you're getting rid of some of that oil and getting ready for batch number 2 to go in. Okay, so the next step, the onions are done. We have still a little bit of oil left in our big pot, and we're going to cook the chicken about 3/4 of the way through. Before we start cooking the chicken, I'm gonna put some aromatics into the oil to flavor it. I'm using some cinnamon and some cardamom. I just pushed down on the cardamom just so it's slightly opened, but not broken, so the pods still stay inside. And we're gonna fry that up for a second before we add our chicken. Don't worry about the little bits of onion that are in there. It'll just continue to season up the chicken. I'm gonna start adding the chicken now. Time to add your chicken. And don't overcrowd the chicken. You might have to do this in a couple of goes. 3 minutes on the first side, and I just flipped them over. You're going to start to see them cooking through. It's time to put them all in the pot now and put the lid on and let it simmer away for about 10 to 20 minutes. Come on in closer and you can see what it looks like. We're just going to put this lid on and let the chicken do their thing. A really important part of biryani is to wash the rice so the starch doesn't have it sticking together. So we're going to go over to the sink and wash it out a couple of times with nice cold water to get all of that starch off of the rice so that when it cooks, it doesn't stick to everything. I'm just going to run the water through the rice and swish it around so that I'm loosening all of that starch that's attached to the rice. And a couple of times, I just drain it off, and you can see the rice is kind of, the water is kind of milky looking. If you do it 3 or 4 times, by the time you drain the 4th time or so, that water is going to come out clear. That's, again, pretty milky looking. A couple of more times. Starting to get clearer. This one's much clearer. Probably one more time should do it. Yep, we've got a nice clear running. Perfect. A big part of this dish for us is the saffron that we put in. So I've got a little bit of water. Come on in close and I'll show you what the saffron looks like. And we're going to take just a pinch of it and put it into some warm water. And it gives both flavor and color. And you can see the saffron starting to really dissolve into the water and color that water. Let's take a peek at our chicken. Does that not look absolutely delicious? It smells even better. You can rotate the chicken a little bit now if you'd like. I'm adding a handful of cilantro at this point. And we're going to put the lid back on and let it simmer again for another 10 minutes. If you are looking to jack up the heat, you can add a couple of Thai chilies at this point. Come on in closer. I want you to see what it looks like. It smells absolutely delicious. Perfect. We're about 3 minutes away from putting the rice into it. Remember when I said everybody has a different way of doing this? This is sort of my way of doing it. I start to season the rice before it actually goes in. So I have cinnamon that's going in. Come on in closer and you can take a quick look at what it looks like. I'm putting a little bit of chili powder right into the rice, some paprika, a little bit of turmeric, a lot of the same spices that we used earlier, cumin, It makes it so fragrant. Black pepper and coriander. And all of these flavors work so well together. I'm just going to take a spoon and mix it all together. It doesn't have to be really, really well mixed, just a general mix. We are now ready for that rice to go in. And we don't want to just clump it in the middle. We're going to spread it around so it's an even layer. Just like that. And we're going to take that saffron water that we made just earlier and sprinkle it around. I'm adding a little bit more water in because we've got 3 cups of rice, so you should have about 5.5 cups of liquid, and it's going to steam. The reason the rice is on the top is you don't want it to burn on the bottom. This is one of the final times that we're seasoning. I'm adding a fair bit of salt to the mixture, and I'm going to add half of the onions right on top. We're going to seal it over and let it cook on medium for 20 minutes. I'm just going to sprinkle the onions so that they're well distributed and not just in one area. Save some for garnish for later. And we're going to close the lid and let it do its thing. Last but not least, it's time to add mustard seeds. That gives so much flavor just right on top. And off you go. Do your thing. We'll see you in 20 minutes. Time to give our friend a quick peek. Let's see how she's doing. Oh my goodness, does that not look absolutely delicious? And the rice is just falling off. I'm just going to let it simmer for about 3 minutes with the lid off just to dry it out a little bit, and we're ready to plate. Let's start plating this. I'm going to get one of the pieces of chicken, so you just dig down deep. Come on in closer. Let's see what else we can get. It's like a treasure hunt. And some rice on the side. Onions, cilantro. Oh, this looks absolutely delicious. We've plated our biryani. It is time to taste. The smell has been driving me crazy for a while. Oh, the flavor, it's packed full of so much flavor. I hope you take the time to hit that like button, try this recipe, subscribe to my channel, and look at all the new innovative recipes that I bring to the table. I look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you so much for watching this video. Take care and have an awesome day.